I'm Jason Herbert. I'm a Southerner, but I live in Colorado. I'm a historian, I'm an outdoorsman, and I'm a movie buff. I hunt and I fish, I kayak and I climb mountains. I like to explore old places and ask new questions. I'm curious about the world. And this is a reckoning. Hey everybody, welcome back to Reckoning with Jason Herbert. Today's a special day. Today we are celebrating the 7th anniversary of Historians at the Movies. If you're a longtime listener, you know this podcast originally started off as Historians at the Movies before we recently rebranded it into Reckoning. But before that, in 2018, we started what became and is now the longest running watch party on the internet. When through some bright idea of my own, I decided that we should all watch National Treasure together on Twitter on one July night in 2018. And so we did, right? And we've been going now every Sunday night for 7 years. And it's kind of crazy to think about how long this ride has been going, the twists and turns of it, what it has come to mean for me. For many of you, we have so many amazing supporters and people who are part of this community. And I wanted to record maybe a little bit longer expression of my gratitude towards you guys for being part of this, but also kind of lay out for you some of the plans kind of moving forward and what we're trying to do over here now. So first and foremost, let's backtrack a little bit. Let's go back to 2018 when I'm living in this tiny little apartment in Lake Placid, Florida. I was trying to finish up my dissertation. I was teaching at a high school and out in the middle of nowhere in Highlands County, Florida. It's a really small place. Beautiful. But I didn't have any friends out there. I was so alone. And it was just me and a bunch of gopher tortoises. It was it. And I would just post these pictures of me like moving these turtles around in the streets and stuff like that. I still miss my tortoises. But there was always a conversation I'd had with my friends about how, archaeologists and historians had this beef because archaeologists got Harrison Ford. They had Indiana Jones, but historians got Nicolas Cage, right? We got Benjamin Franklin Gates, but that's all right. We still love National Treasure, right? Everyone loved that movie. And I thought, you know what? It'd be fun to watch it one night. And it was available on Netflix. It's like, you know what? We should all watch this together. And we ended up doing that, right? I didn't even know at the time what a hashtag was. So I was like, what does this do? How do we work this? And somebody actually suggested HATM. Actually, it wasn't my own thing. Like, you should just call it that, right? And I was like, okay, let's do that. So, we watched it. The writers of National Treasure come on. The Wibberleys came on. They've since been on this podcast, which is amazing. They are just the best and most wonderful people. We've had actors come along on the watch party. So the very first thing we did was we did National Treasure, and it went really, really well. We had all these people tweeting along with us. And it went really well. And I was like, that's it. Okay, we should do it again sometime. And everyone was like, yeah, let's do it next week. It's like, what? And they were like, no, and you do it. It's like, oh, shit, okay. So the next film we did was Lincoln. And then we did Marie Antoinette. My best friend, Crystalline Shefflin, she's like, make sure you do women's history. It's like, fine. If you know by now, we take a lot of pride in the diversity of films and topics and that we have here on HATM, but that wasn't early on. So that was like, we need to make sure we're covering a lot of bases, a lot of territory. We want to make sure from the very earliest onset that everyone feels like they are welcome here. So that was part of the idea. So we did Marie Antoinette, and then I think we did Trading Places and Coco. And then from there, we were just off to the races. And we've been recording now, or not recording. We've been watching films together every single night. In fact, during COVID, more than once per week for the last 7 years. Hundreds of films. We've done a couple documentaries here and there. We've even done miniseries from time to time. It has been the craziest ride. And, I won't lie to you guys. There have been times when I wanted to let it go. I went through a breakup in 2022. And man, was I ever in a bad mood. I was going to quit this thing. Oh man, everything's expendable. It's going to quit. I'm tired. You guys wouldn't let me do it, and then from there, the podcast was born, right? And even recently, I was like 6.5, 7 years in. I'm tired. I need to take some. Like I took like a month off. I was like, I'm just not watching movies. I'm tired, right? And what I discovered over this time was that HATM does not actually need me, the fearless leader, the create, whatever it is you guys call me, right? You don't actually need me. It's kind of, I've always said it belongs to the community, but a lot of you guys really take that in stride and be like, hey, we got this. We can run this with. Come on, go do something else, right? And that has been actually really inspiring to see your love for this community, because ultimately, what I think of HATM, it's a community. Like every single Sunday night, it's more than every single. These are like my friends now, and I've only met a few of you in person, right? Rachel Gunter, who is like one of my besties. Like we don't get to hang out, June Blackwell. Now she and I are buddies, and we've known each other for years and years and years. But I mean, even then, we see each other only occasionally, right? And she makes this place run. Like she's the historian of HATM, if you will. So, and some of you see all the time. Some like one of my best friends, Thomas Lakaki, and I have actually never actually met on this pod. Neither have Colin Colburn and I, like in person. They've been on the pod like a billion jillion times. And that's an expression. It's been a ride, It's been a really amazing ride. And one of the challenges over time has been trying to figure out like what to do as we move forward, right? Like what does HATM become? And, for the longest time, people were like, oh, you should monetize it, whatever. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that early on because I wanted to see what it could become, right? I didn't want to like cheapen it by asking people for money. That felt wrong to me because ultimately I felt like HATM was mostly about the community first and foremost. However, as time has gone on, my interest, we started to try to almost legitimize this, where we started to like have people on to talk about things in the moment, especially as the podcast got going and stuff. And I wanted to talk about things above and beyond films. One of the challenges of, say, the podcast has been like, it's difficult to tie every single history to a film, right? We've got a pod we're going to release in the next couple of days about the history of the Sahara Desert. It's a terrific podcast, but it was difficult. Like, do we do Lawrence of Arabia? Is that what we like? It's hard sometimes. And I wanted to have scientists on. I wanted to have philosophers and politicians and things like that. And that it's been really amazing because I've got to know all these different people and stuff like that. But what do we do? Right. So, we come up with the idea of reckoning where like we're thinking through ideas and such. And I like this still, right? It was easy to align this with the writing I'm doing on Substack. And, I was taking a lot of cues from what Heather Richardson is doing in her work. Heather, as you probably know, is a dear friend of mine and has been a mentor and a big sister to me for years and years and years. And I just love her dearly. And I'm not trying to replicate what she's doing. She's so much smarter and braver and bolder and well-spoken than I could ever hope to be. But I did want to say, wait a second, there are people out there we could talk to and have this idea of like what this hillbilly from Kentucky, Florida man, Colorado guy, I don't know what they call him out. Chad, is that what they call people in Colorado? I don't know. I wanted to start to maybe bring my voice out because I see, especially in the world, all this negativity, and I just want to fill it with joy. So I've been so pumped up ever since I saw Superman over the weekend, just because it was so happy and joyous, and it was great. It made me smile, and that's all I want to do is make people smile, make them think. And for the longest time, we've used movies to do that, right? So, I have this terrific role where I work with tribes. If you're watching the video of this, I've got my Kiowa tribe T-shirt on right now. Love those guys and stuff. And I really love it, right? But, there's part of me wants to be free. And like there are certain things because of the work that I do in my real job there's certain punches I have to hold back, or I have to pull certain things, or certain things that I don't talk about because I don't want to seem as though I'm representing my employer or any of the tribes that I work with or anything like that. And there are definitely times when I feel like I want more. I want to do more. I want to speak more. I want to be a voice. I think that we can do that. I certainly want to try. So what does that mean? Right now, HATM Reckoning is funded by your subscriptions on Substack, and thank you very much for that. But I'll tell you, it's not a whole lot of money per year. I don't. It's not enough to make or break me. I am very thankful to everybody who has chipped in what they can. It is incredible. Thank you, because this comes from personal people. I would like to figure out a way, though, to get some kind of sponsorship, to get someone to invest in this dream I've got. And I don't know how to do that. People like me. That's good. I'm glad that they do, when I'm not trying to tear down the world after a breakup or something like that. When I'm not in a bad mood, cursing the world, telling whatever. But it's like, in order for us to grow this, I need someone to believe in this as much as you do. And I don't know who that is. And I don't know how to get in front of them. I certainly think I'd like to get, and this is a call to all of you to help me if you can help me find these people, a branding person to help me figure out how to put these social media accounts in line. How do we expand our audience? Like, who do we need to be on this thing? For the longest time, people are like, oh, you should be the liberal version of Joe Rogan, right? That's great. I would very much like his paycheck. But I don't think there is a liberal version of Joe Rogan. I think that there could be just a regular version of me. I think Jason Herbert is enough, right? And I think there are some amazing other men or women out there who are expressing their own voices and stuff like that. I don't think that there needs to be a liberal version of this person or a conservative version of that person. Just be you. Be the most authentic version of you, the truest form of yourself. And I think that that's the thing I would like to be able to do, is like, I need to find an investor who would allow me to take this and help it become the truest form of what it can be. That's really where I want it to be. And I think if I could free up, if I had 2 years to really build this up and focus solely on Reckoning, right, and build this beyond HATM, beyond the writing, where I could focus on the writing nonstop, where I could focus on the thinking, and I could talk about environmental issues, where I could talk about when I work with tribes, where I could talk about the things that matter, right? Raising boys, crisis of manhood, all of these different things that are out there that are important to talk about. So that's the goal right now. I definitely need to talk to someone about branding. And I definitely need to talk to someone about money. So I could really do this, because ultimately what I'd like to do is do this. I feel like I can do this full time. We can get now. We've had Oscar winners on this podcast. We've had Nobel Prize winners on this pod. We've had Pulitzer Prize winners on this, but we've also had every historian that you could possibly imagine. We've had all of these other people. We've had regular people, non-academics. We've had scientists and philosophers and all these other people. Like, we can get whoever we want on this pod at this point in time. And I'm really proud of that. So where do we take it next? And I would love to hear your thoughts. Would you guys prefer for me to keep it at HATM and Historians at the Movies? Do you want me to keep going? Do you want me to push the envelope? I mean, what would you like to see from this? And you can message me. You can find the Substack. It's jasonherbert.substack.com, right? What would you like? You can also shoot me an email. And God, this might be a horrible idea, but historiansatthemovies@gmail.com is where you can find us. Just spell it all out. historiansatthemovies@gmail altogether. Let me know what you're thinking. What would you like? I want to build this. See where it goes. So I'd love your help on that. Love for your thoughts on that. We need branding and money. That's good. So let's kick back now to the original point of this original pod, which is one of gratitude. So There are way too many people here to thank who have been on either the podcast as guests on the podcast or have guest hosted on HATM. But I do want to thank a few people who have really been amazing. First and foremost is June Blackwell. She has been the historian of HATM for the longest time. June and I first met when I was going through recruitment for graduate school back in 2015, and she and I have just been friends ever since that day. And she is someone who I trust completely, along with Rachel Gunter, who is Rachel is amazing. And usually when I'm thinking about things and so forth, I'm usually talking to June or Rachel, right? About like what we should do, what's the tone, what comes next, what should we, what kind of films are out there and stuff like that. Usually when I need to pinch, the first people I ask, right? Although recently I've asked Jake Harper to jump on, and he's been doing that as well when I need like some breaks. So thank you for that. My best friend, Crystal Shufflin, has always been there. Was there from the earliest days. Chris doesn't get on Blue Sky or social media as much anymore, but she's my best friend on the planet. So whenever I need a thought or whatever, like I could never do a thing without thanking her, right? Just ever. That's just who she is. She is the closest thing to a sister I have in this world. And I just love her to bits. So there's that. There's so many of you who continue to be part of this. Ariel Archer, I know it was you who's behind this Spike Lee book behind me. I'm certain of it. Whenever I finished my dissertation, a bunch of the HATM community got in front of Spike Lee apparently and had him sign me a personalized copy of his book to Jason Herbert from Spike Lee. Spike Lee wrote my name. That's pretty freaking cool. Golly, this is the dangerous part because inevitably I'm going to leave somebody out. Nicole Donahue, I just love you to death. John White Greenlee has come on now to be our first guest host on the podcast. And he and Thomas Lecoq have been on the pod a bunch. Colin Coburn is on a bunch now. Sarah Myers has, I think, been on the record. And then there are people out there like, Annette Gordon-Reed, right, has been on this podcast. Annette doesn't need to be on this pod, and she is amazing, right? Joanne Freeman doesn't need to be on this podcast, and she comes on and talks. I mean, I love her. Craig Smith and Robert Greene II were two of the guys who kind of encouraged me the idea of HATM years and years and years ago. They've been on the pod a lot. Craig has tiny, tiny arms, but that's okay. There's so many of you. I'm so sorry that I can't name everybody out there. Lindsay Marshall, just everybody out there. You've kept me going. And I said this when I recorded a short little thing earlier. You've gotten me through divorces. You got me through graduate school. You got me through a move across the country. Robin Mitchell, did that for me. The love has always been there from you. And it's right back at you. It is 100% reciprocated. I promise you. I can't tell you the amount of times that in the last 7 years, I've just leaned on this community. When I was at my lowest or whatever, it was like this community, like the thoughts I get, the stuff like that from you guys. It's always so positive and so uplifting. Fletcher Powell. How do I not say Fletcher's name by now? Oh my God, our producer on the podcast. Fletcher and I have known each other since I moved to Wichita, a place that I dearly, dearly love. Back in 2010, man, talking about a guy who's been just a rock solid friend of mine. Oh my gosh, I was never going to forgive myself if I didn't say Fletcher's name. So we're going to watch, if you're listening to this tonight, we're going to watch Bloodsport tonight on the 7th anniversary. I was trying to think about what to do. My friend Thomas Lecoq was like, just pick a movie you want to watch. Don't worry about it. We'll be back on the history movies next week. But we're going to do a silly one tonight, and that's fine. But if you're listening in, that's been part of the fun for the last 7 years has been we can take any movie and talk about it in historical context, right? And the thing that I'm proudest of with this are two things. First and foremost, the thing I'm most proud of is creating a community here where everybody feels welcome, that I feel I really work hard to make sure, and I'm not perfect at this, but no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, the most important thing to me is that you know that you were always welcome around me, um, regardless of any kind of whatever race or sexuality or any other classification. I don't want to get into that stuff, right? As long as you like Coke more than Pepsi, we are good here at HATM. So there's that. That's really the biggest, most important thing to me is that people always feel like this is a community where they can belong. And I was going to say something else, but now I've forgotten because my mind does that, and I'm sorry about that. So, the other thing now I remember is that I really love that this community has helped to break down barriers between people. Like if you listen in and you listen to Joanne Freeman on the podcast or listen to her talk about a movie or whatever, right? You're like, oh, this isn't just the esteemed professor at Yale. Of course she is, right? She's someone that you can talk to, that you also likes these movies or, whomever, right? Walter Greason, very first guest on the podcast, so thankful to each and every one of you. And if you're still listening, thank you for being here for the last, 21 minutes. I'm thanking you guys now. So we're going to continue all of this. I've got to figure out if we keep the reckoning thing, if we keep HATM, please, please, please. I actually need your thoughts on this. This is not like a thing where I'm asking, like I quite literally need thoughts on this. So please hit me in an email or hit me on social media. You can find me on social media at Herbert History on Blue Sky or Instagram or even on TikTok now. If you want to help us, make sure that you can leave a really positive review for the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Reckoning with Jason Herbert is where we're at now. So, but let us know, hey, how's the branding working? What would you like to see moving forward? And hey, if you want to sponsor the show, hit us up. We really want to build this into something. And I feel like if we can just break away, if I can make HATM, if I can make Reckoning my full-time gig, that's really what I want to do. That's the dream. So, but it requires help, and would love for you to be part of it. So that's it. Thank you so much. 7 years in. Let's do it another year. You guys, I don't know how to quit you. And I love you guys so very, very, very much. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you tonight. Ciao for now. Bye.